Hey guys, what's up? Hi, welcome to another episode with me, Shashank Udupa. And in today's episode on popular demand, we are going to understand what is happening in the paint industry. Now, last time I made a quick video on which sector I'm avoiding. A lot of people had a lot of questions with respect to will Grasim take over Asian Paints or will Asian Paints survive and fight Grasim as well. Now, in today's episode, what we're going to do is we're just going to look at all the data and all the facts, and we're going to do a quick business analysis of what Grasim is doing, right? And will they be able to take Asian Paints? What is the market talking about? We will look at all of that. Also, a very big disclosure here, I have not invested nor in Asian Paints or have I invested in Grasim. So I don't have stocks in either of the company. I'm not motivated by both of these companies. I'm just doing this from a fundamental analysis point of view. But first, let's do one thing. Let's understand what Grasim is. Why are they even entering this paint business? How much does Asian Paint own of this paint business? Will they be able to disrupt Asian Paints? And there's also something else that Grasim is trying to do which we don't know as well. So we're going to look at all of that in today's episode of Connecting Dots. Stay tuned. Okay. So today what we're going to do is we're going to look at Grasim's fundamental analysis, right? We're going to do a company introduction, business model, sector analysis, financials, and then finally the disruption story. Now, just to give you guys a base understanding of the company introduction, Grasim is basically the flagship company of Aditya Birla Group, okay? Now, the company started basically as a textile manufacturer in 1947. After that, the cement business was started in 1985. So, Aditya Birla Nuvo Limited was merged with Grasim in 2017, right? And the financial services business was demerged from this business, right? Now, if you look at what does Aditya Birla main Grasim make money from, right? So, Grasim is, by the way, the holding company of your Ultratech cement. So they get 50 to 55% revenue from Ultratech cement. They get some kind of revenue from the textile space. So they basically manufacture this thing called VSF, which is called viscose staple fiber, right? So they do this. They're also the largest producer of chloralkyl as well in India. So all of these things are very important. They make 55% of revenue comes from the Ultratech cement, some around 20% comes from the VSF as well, right? Okay, so this is where they're getting their money from. Another 20% comes from their financial services arm, and recently they spoke about disrupting the Indian paint business, where they want to enter the decorative paint business. Now, paint business also, I will tell you what it's divided into two halves: industrial paint business and decorative paint business. So they want to come in this, and that's called, all the industry experts are calling it the Geo moment, and they're coming with 10,000 crores of capital infusion. But again, let's look at what is happening as well, right? Now, this is how Aditya Birla Group looks like from an overview point of view, right? Now, Aditya Birla Group has a tie-up with Vodafone India. They have direct partnership with Ultratech Cement. They also have Aditya Birla and also Hindalco's there. There's Aditya Birla Fashion Retail. Then there is Aditya Birla Capital, and there is Grasim, which is also there here, right? Now, if you look at the transaction overview, first Aditya Birla's Nuvo Limited merged with Grasim, remember, in 2017, July 1st, and then they demerged the financial services wing. So basically, Aditya Birla Group's main business is Grasim, and Grasim, if you look at it right now, is trading at a 1 lakh crore market cap at this point of time, right? Now, if you look at the market cap, as I said, as of 31st March, but if you look at today's market cap, it's slightly gone down to 1 lakh crore. But at that point, it was 1.16 crore market cap. Number one in viscose, number one in chloralkyl, and number one in advanced material as well. Now, they have 57% stake in Ultratech Cement, or 57% of the revenue comes from Ultratech Cement, which is again the number one producer of cement in India. Number three global producer, excluding China, right? And again, some other kind of revenue comes from Aditya Birla, which is approximately 25-26% comes from this business as well. Okay, they're again in the top 5 AMCs and NBFCs. Now, if you, as I said, looking at the revenues over here, 54% comes from Ultratech, 22% comes from the financial services, and 12% comes from this wing, right? So they make good amount of money from all these different companies. I'm not going to go deep into it. I'm going to share this with you guys just to get an understanding of how they're making revenue. We will go through the revenues in detail on screener as well after this, okay? Now, if you look at the expansion or the growth possibilities for Grasim, basically with respect to the VSF, okay, and with respect to caustic soda, they're basically trying to go into the paint industry and make the best story, right? So if you look at this, Grasim should benefit from the changes in the cotton industry dynamics. VSF basically demand is growing for this, and it is going to outpace cotton in FY25. Estimates, right? Now, also there is a very important news that US has banned cotton imports from the China region, right? Basically triggering a shift for substitute products, and this is where VSF comes in as well. Also, they are focusing on backward integration with respect to their chemical segment. Now, if that happens, their I'm so bad with these chemical names, that alkali thing will also obviously increase, and the chlorine consumption value will also go up, and they will also make more money from that as well. And finally, they want to come into the paint business by leveraging changing Ultratech Cement's distribution network. We will look at all of that as well. Now, Ultratech contributes 65% of the total value of Grasim. That means if Ultratech starts going down, Grasim's share price will also start going down. Please understand this, right? So basically what they're trying to do is, let's see how to take Ultratech's entire backend that we've built. We have the distribution network, we have all of this. How do we leverage that and start making new businesses and start increasing our banner as well, so that we reduce the dependence on only the cement industry. So that is where Grasim is looking at, right? But if you look at the other business, one we saw is the cement business. If you look at the VSF business, there is growth for VSF. If you look at this, VSF has a 8.7% CAGR growth over a long period of time versus any other fibers. VSF consumption mix is also growing slowly. The sales in the domestic market are also growing. Everywhere it is growing, right? So VSF looks very interesting. Now I wanted to look at exhibit 38, the one that is below this, right? Now if you look at exhibit 38, look at the dealer network of Birla White, which basically is going to help Grasim enter the paint industry as well. If you look at Asian Paints, they have 70,000 dealers, right? Which is their major strong point. And if you look at Grasim, it has already beat Indigo, Berger and Nerolac. Okay, so it is currently sitting at number 2, but still half of Asian Paints. So will it come instantly and disrupt? No. Will it disrupt over time? Maybe. We don't know, right? We have to be unbiased on all these things. But definitely there is going to be some kind of a fight over here, right? Now, as I said, the sector, if you look at the sector as well, there basically the demand for VSF is going to go up, the demand for textile products is going to go up, the demand for building products is going to go up, and with the demand for rising building products as well, we look at Ultratech Cement doing well. They also have something called as a putty, right? White putty is also there. That will also do really well, or putty. I'm not sure how that's pronounced. And also the paint industry will do really well from that perspective, right? So this is basically an overview of Grasim's business. I will share this with you guys so that you can go through it in your own free time as well, right? I'm more interested in what is going to happen in the paint segment. So this is where the caustic soda margins are also going to improve. So from a fundamental standpoint, Grasim's revenue looks to be in a very good shape, right? Fundamentally, Grasim's revenue on a long term is going to be in a good shape. Right now, if you look at the paint business, why are they coming into a paint business? Basically, now if you look at Grasim, they're a very cyclical business. Why are they a cyclical business? Because most of their revenue comes from the cement business, and cement is a very cyclical business. Now they want to go into a paint business, which is a high return on capital employed, return on capital business. Okay, as simple as that. Now, basically, historically, it is very difficult to scale in the paint business, almost impossible to come into the paint business. But Grasim basically has a pre-decided advantage. What is that? The distribution of Birla White putty or putty, I don't know what that is. Basically, 54,000 dealers of that, 70% will overlap. Out of 54, only 70% will overlap between paints and Birla White dealers. And also Birla has a strong brand recall, which they can use and leverage while growing in. And if you look at this, if they actually get into this business and they get into it successfully, which we still don't know, right? But we'll go into more detail in the next slide. We still don't know if they can do it successfully, but if they do that, then Grasim's revenue will start looking really good, right? Now, if you just analyze Grasim as a business, they have 7 decades of presence in the market. They have a market domination with respect to scale and distribution for their businesses. We've gone through that they're operating in the cement business, NBFC business, financial services, textiles and chemicals. So they're good in all of that. But now they're entering 2 different businesses, not one. They're making 2 more new things, right? And I'll show you what that is, okay? Now, look at this slide very carefully. This I call as paints versus paints, okay? Now, if you look at the image on the right hand side, the entire market of the paints industry is massive. It's a $10-20 billion market, growing market. Out of that market, 75% is decorative paints, 25% is industrial paints. Okay, so in that 75% of decorative paints, Asian Paints holds 50% of the market share and 25% is other people. Right now, out of the 75% of decorative paints, Asian Paints holds 50%, right? So Grasim is saying, I want to enter this space and I'm going to invest 1.3 billion liter cup capacity plant to make paints in the decorative space and eat up the 50% market share of Asian Paints. That is what they're saying. Now, if you look at what analysts are saying, right, these are big analysts. So Jeffries basically came and said that Grasim may go for an aggressive pricing strategy and disrupt the market structure, which we saw similar happening with Airtel and Jio as well. But what they're saying is this might have a greater impact on the small players. Your Berger Paints, your Nerolac, all these guys will have bigger impact, Indigo Paints, whereas Asian Paints will also be at risk, but not at that kind of a risk. So immediately they won't get disrupted. We saw the same thing happening in the telecom space, right? Vodafone got affected the most, but Airtel somehow survived. Now HDFC Security feels that Grasim will plan to impact the number 2, number 3 players. First, they'll remove the number 2, number 3 players. He believes that it would be difficult for a new player, even like Grasim, to come and fight Asian Paints, right? Because the dealership network is so strong. Again, unbiased. We're looking at both sides, right? What HDFC Securities said and what Jeffries is also saying. Another thing, if you look at the capacity expansion that's happening, Grasim is doing a 1.3 billion liter capacity expansion. And Asian Paints has a 1.7 billion liter capacity right now. So Asian Paints obviously has more capacity than Grasim at this current moment. But if you look at Berger Paints, if you look at Nerolac and Indigo, they have literally half of what Grasim is going to have. So automatically the lower players are going to get disrupted like crazy, and this is going to go really bad, right? I wouldn't be surprised if Grasim starts acquiring a few companies when they go really bad as well. Now, finally, there's another beautiful game that they're playing which nobody knows about this. Very few people know about this. Is now what they're doing is Grasim has announced they're spending 2,000 crores to launch a B2B e-commerce platform. A B2B e-commerce platform for building materials. They want to automate the entire process. They want to make everything with the use of technology, and they're going to make it a digital platform. And there have been companies that have done this in the past. Let me show you what this is, right? Before that, let's look at the key risks of this company, of Grasim. What are the key risks? One, whenever there is a massive capex expansion, a 10,000 crores and a 2,000 crore expansion, it is not fueled by internal accruals. Most of the time, it is taken from loan. And when loan comes, debt goes up. When debt goes up, interest goes up. So that is one problem. If you look at the other drawback of Grasim is that other businesses might need funding as well. So if they're putting so much money into paints tomorrow, and if suddenly Ultratech Cement gets some disruption happening there, and which is already happening with Adani Cement coming into place, will they be able to fuel and fight on both sides with the money? Not sure, right? So this is one negative element that we're going to look at, where the funding, the demand, and the high holding capacity is also there. These are the three risks that we should look at, because now they're fighting two wars at the same time. Now, this is the second disruption that they're doing. Paints though was one. Look at this other disruption which is going to merge with paint, right? Grasim is basically doing a B2B e-commerce platform, spending 2,000 crores in the next 5 years to disrupt the building material space. What are they going to do is they're going to have a platform where they can sell all their stuff, right? Anything with respect to building materials, you can buy it online. Now, obviously, you can buy wall care putty, you can also buy putty, you can buy the white putty, you can also buy paints, right? Now, the question is, will they allow other people to come in as well and make it like a proper e-commerce marketplace? Will they allow Asian Paints to come and list their paints as well? Or will they start gatekeeping all of this is the main question, right? Now, the building material procurement industry is $100 billion industry globally, right? Meaning that only 2% of these transactions happen digitally today. Now, if this adoption happens, and if Grasim actually kicks it off and Aditya Birla Group kicks it off really well, then we will have massive amount of transactions coming in. This will add to additional revenue over and above the paint. This is just going to support the paint industry. It's not going to fuel the paint industry growth. But if they take the entire thing over there, then it might look really well. Now, what comes on this platform, right? What is going to come in this platform? They're going to have cement. They're going to have electrical appliances. They're going to have tiles. They're going to have plywoods. So they're going to have everything that is there, which is respect to Grasim Paints, Everlast Roofing. They're going to have Ultratech Cements. They're going to have all of their products. They might have other products as well that we have not got confirmation yet on, right? So this is something that is very interesting. And now what they're trying to do is they want to do a one-stop shop for construction. They don't want you to go to different vendors and ask for different price for different product materials as well. Now, if they successfully do this and they make everything digital, and nowadays most of the companies are digital as well, boss, this will create a massive thing. But will this work? Has this worked before? Okay, we will only look at data today. Has this worked before? There was a company called Infra.Market, right? Infra.Market was a startup that came up in 2016, last valued at $2.5 billion. So they basically did the same thing. They tried to be the one-stop shop for construction for everything. It worked. Places like Kochi and Delhi Metro moved to Infra.Market for their needs, and it turned profitable from day one. It didn't have a brand name that people related to because it was called Infra.Market, but most of the people actually started using this. That's why it was valued at such a big thing, right? Now, it got the manufacturer to list everything. They got the users and they got the sales as well. They got to track data. After that, they also launched their own private labels. They made more margins in the private label as well, just like how Amazon does it. Now, Grasim is just looking at that and following the exact same playbook. Now, if that does really well and Grasim actually cracks that playbook, then it is going to have a massive distribution advantage over here, right? So it is going to be very interesting to track Grasim and what are they doing with this. Now, let's quickly look at the financial financial analysis of Grasim as well, right? Now, if you look at the market cap, it is 1,03 crores market cap, as I showed you. If you look at the max chart, they have been going up and down, but because it was very cyclical, it will replicate very similar to the Ultratech cement. And if you look at this, as I said, Ultratech cement holds basically 54% of the revenues, rest comes 22% of financial services, 12% of viscose, right? Now, coming down and looking at the profit and loss statement, their profit has been increasing year on year, except for 2019. After that, there was a drop, and now it has come back to normalcy, right? So the profit in the last 5 years growth rate is there. Operating margins are around 21-22%, which is again good. They are net profit positive, right? They are EPS positive as well. The stock price CAGR in the last few years is not very attractive. It's quite sad actually. It's not moved a lot, right? Because it's cyclical again. But if you look at the borrowings, the reserves and equity is currently at a debt to equity ratio of 1:1, right? A 1:1 debt to equity ratio is not very interesting, mainly because anything above this, you'll start getting over leveraged, right? And the promoter holding is currently sitting at 42%. So this was the basic analysis of Grasim. One second, let me come back. So guys, as I said, no bias, okay? We don't know who's going to win. I'm only here to analyze the sector and see what's happening, because this is going to be a very hot sector. It is like analyzing Jio and Airtel before Jio actually came out, right? Jio came out all guns blazing. We couldn't connect the dots at that time. But now looking at the paint industry, there is going to be some disruption. There will be a lot of moves. There will be a lot of good moves. There will be a lot of unethical moves. We don't know what's going to happen, but we are going to track this. Every time a new update comes out, we will do a paint industry update. Why? Because now what is going to happen is the margins of big company might go down. The premium that big companies were trading in might go down. The smaller players might also do really bad. Or the new entrant, which is Grasim, might fail miserably and also lose all their money. So all of these things can happen. It's going to be very exciting to look at it from a fundamental standpoint. I hope you guys like this video. If you liked it, click on the like button, subscribe and share it with your friends. This is me, Shashank Udupa, signing off. Take care. See you guys. Bye.